Ladies and gentlemen, banter for believers. Somebody you might not expect to be on a faith-based show like Banter for Believers, but I always want to keep you guys guessing as to who I will have on the show. So we're very excited to have Arielle.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Arielle, thank you so much for joining us. You're very brave to be coming on this show, a faith-based show. I very highly of you for that. I don't.
Well, thanks.
There are a lot of. I don't know if there are a lot of people in your industry that'd be willing to come on a show, a faith-based show, but you really stepped out here, and so I greatly appreciate you and for doing this today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So first of all, tell me, Arielle, how did you come up with your name? I know a lot of porn stars, strippers, they always have a stage name. How did you come up with your name?
Um, well, I was a philosophy major, religious studies minor in college, and Thomas Aquinas was one of my favorites. So I kind of went with that. I had already had the Rev Arielle thing since like the MySpace times. Everybody calls me Rev because I was ordained when I was really young, and so when I started doing mainstream adult work, they thought that the Reverend Arielle sounded a little too harsh. It wasn't as appealing, so I needed kind of a regular first name, last name, porn name. So I was thinking, and they really liked the alliteration names in porn. So I was like, all right, well, I'll go with the double A's, and that's kind of where that came from.
Okay, that's excellent. So yeah, Thomas Aquinas was a philosopher, theologian, Catholic priest. And so, what is your background? What are you Methodist? You're certainly not Baptist, uh, but
No, I'm a Protestant.
okay, you're a Protestant. You're Protestant.
But I always joke about that because I have a lot of Catholic tattoos, and my name is Catholic Saint, and people are like, oh, so you're Catholic? I'm like, no, I'm Protestant. And they're like, why you have all this Catholic stuff? And I'm like, well, Protestants don't really have any cool art stuff, and we don't have the cool symbology and things like that like the Catholics do. I always say if I got a Protestant tattoo, I'd get like a cup of coffee and a donut, I guess.
A whole meal, I'm sure, for Baptists. I grew up Southern Baptist, so that was a staple of the Baptist was having a afternoon meal or a
The Sunday dinners, yeah.
exactly. So
I went to a Southern Baptist church very briefly. I just didn't care for it because I had already been raised in kind of a like real cool non-denominational Christian church. And so when I went to the Southern Baptist church, even though I was little, the stuff that they were saying, I was like, this doesn't seem right. This isn't like what I learned in church. This doesn't seem right to me.
so was it a charismatic church you kind of grew up in early on, or was it you say you touched a little bit into the Baptist church, but where do you go now? What you can you what type of church? It's a Protestant.
Yeah, so the church I go to now and it's a lot like the church I grew up in, which was the Vineyard, and it's a chain church, and some of them have turned into mega churches, which I don't care for. That's a little makes me feel a little claustrophobic.
Sure.
But the Vineyard that I grew up in, I went to two of them, and they were everybody knew each other. It was real laid back. You didn't have to dress up. You just kind of it's a come as you are church. So no matter what kind of person you are, no matter what kind of style. I remember being a kid and I saw a guy with a green mohawk at church, and I was like, wow, that's the coolest thing. he's got a green mohawk, but he still gets to go to church. Nobody's judging him. Nobody's saying anything to him. You know, he still gets to go. And I always thought that was great. And, you know, the pastors, you know, and they never yelled at you. They, you know, would just talk to you. It was real calm, and the music was beautiful. And huh?
The pastor doesn't yell?
No, pastor did not yell. He's a real laid back guy from California,
Or
Pastor Barry.
skinny
Yeah.
jeans or what? Is he really hip, kind of trendy type of?
I wouldn't say trendy, but he was like a ex hippie guy.
Okay.
You know, so it was just really laid back. You know, people weren't in suits all the time. They just wore regular clothes and talked to you like a regular person. And it wasn't full of condemnation. It was, you know, full of love. And that's what I always loved about it. And then I went to the Southern Baptist Church, and it was, you know, lots of yelling and lots of condemnation and, you know, lots of fear. And I didn't enjoy that at all.
Yeah, I don't see too many Baptist churches making it in Vegas. I think if you set up shop in Vegas to do a church, you're kind of expected that all kinds of people are going to be coming in your door, right?
Yeah.
So, do they know what your profession is?
Not at my no.
Okay.
But
You haven't
it's
delved.
not something I would talk about anyway. And I do like other kinds of mainstream work, so
Okay.
you know. But I mean, if somebody directly asked me, I wouldn't lie about it.
Sure.
But this is like a newer church that I'm going to. I haven't lived in Vegas all that long, so
Yeah.
this is like a new church. I don't really like know everybody yet, and I don't want to alienate anybody.
You're not what, your 20s?
No, I'm 30. 31, going to be 32.
You look right. Well, you messaged me earlier, and you asked if this was going to be an audio only or a video, and I told you no, this is going to be a video, and it took you a little while to get ready. How long does it usually take you to get ready to look like you do now?
It'll take me at least an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on what I have to do. You have to remember, we're all in quarantine, so if I can stay in my pajamas, I will.
Right. I was actually thinking about coming in my pajamas here today. I thought it would, for some reason, be appropriate to be wearing pajamas, but
yeah, that's kind of the uniform right now.
Right. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your back. When you were a young girl, did you just wake up thinking, I think I want to be a porn star? Or was this something that, I mean, did you go to school for anything else, or how did this come about for you?
Well, like I said, I went to school for philosophy and religious studies, but I had always wanted to be an actress. That's like pretty much all I wanted to do my whole life. And I remember there was a moment I had gone to see the Phantom of the Opera live. I've seen it like 3 times now live, but it was the first time I went, and I got to go to the backstage door to like meet the actors and get my playbill signed. And watching the actors interact with each other, they were very catty, they were very fake. They were, you know, they would say something as if they weren't bragging, but they were bragging. And I remember being totally put off by it, and their fake behavior with each other, and their cattiness, their meanness to each other. I just thought it was totally unnecessary. And so I was, you know, it kind of hit me. I was kind of like, maybe I don't want to be an actor, because I don't want to be around people like this that are going to be mean to me and, you know, stuff like that. And so, but I still pursued it. I still did all the plays in school, and I took acting classes, and I was on the competitive speech and drama team. And then there was a moment, my first boyfriend in high school, my first and only boyfriend in high school, he like had a very severe like porn addiction. And I didn't understand it because I was young and I never watched it. You know, I didn't know much about it, but I remember thinking to myself, you know, like, why am I not enough for him? You know, he has me. Why does he need to look at other girls? You know, I don't understand it. I was so insanely jealous. And so one day I decided I was going to get up my courage, and I was going to look at what he was looking at to see why these girls were so much better than me. And I looked, and it was a site like Suicide Girls or something. It was one of those like alt pinup sites that were real popular back in the early 2000s. And I was looking at it, and it hit me. I was like, these girls aren't better than me. These girls look like me. They are me. And this is back in the early 2000s when the standard for beauty was still the Pam Anderson type.
Mm-hmm.
It was very skinny, big boobs, you know, blonde hair, and I was curvy and I had small boobs and I had weird hair because I was a goth kid. And, you know, nobody liked anybody that looked like me. At least so I thought, because everybody in the media didn't look like me. All the women that were portrayed as beautiful in magazines, nobody looked like me. And here's this whole website of women who not only are being portrayed as beautiful, but they're being paid. You know, they're seen as valuable. And it was the first time in my life that it ever occurred to me that I might be attractive to people too. And it completely changed my view of myself. I had self-esteem for the first time in my life, and it had such a profound effect on me that I decided that I wanted to pursue modeling and nude modeling specifically to try to inspire other women and show them that they were beautiful too.
Okay. So you don't think that, and I think that's wonderful that you found that value in yourself. I think it's a great thing. But do you still think it might be a little bit superficial? Or I'm sorry, I don't know if we cut out there, but do you think it might be a little bit superficial still? Because when most people look at porn, be a woman or a girl, they think it's a visual thing. It's a very visual thing, and so that's all they're really looking at. They're not considering your personality traits in porn. So I mean, what do you say on that?
Well, I mean, number one, you know, when you're young and stuff, you're not worried about, I wasn't worried about that. I knew that my personality was good. What I felt bad about was how I looked. And so that's why it was a big deal for me, because I never thought I was attractive. And it was kind of validating to realize that I might be attractive, you know, changed my whole life, because you're very self-conscious at that age. And, you know, you feel weird and you feel awkward and you want people to like you know, you want to be attractive. So, you know, it may be shallow, but it's important. Everybody wants to feel attractive, you know, and be attractive and, you know, have people desire them.
Oh yeah.
But I also think that this has really changed a lot with, you know, kind of the boom of social media, in that, sure, when you're watching a video, you might not be thinking about my personality, but you watch my video and then you go follow me on Twitter, and then you realize I'm interesting, and then you're following me for that and you're engaging me with that. That's why my tagline on all my social media is "Come for the tits, stay for the wits." Because I get that all the time. People follow me, you know, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you're actually really funny," or "You're actually really smart," you know, "You're very interesting." So I think that's changed a lot. Yeah, maybe they might go into it in a superficial way, but having a personality, it has actually become a big part of porn. That's why some of the awards that they give out is for like best internet personality.
I I think we had this conversation. Maybe some of the people it was via Twitter, that the girls, they want to be treated with respect when they're seen
Yeah.
out in public. But a lot of times when you've got titles on Twitter that it says, "Hey, I'm a filthy," and I'll bleep this out maybe later, filthy. Aren't they kind of saying, "Hey, we want you to think of us in this manner"?
Sure, in a sexual way, but I think that humans have the capacity to, you know, objectify someone in a sexual context and then humanize them in a non-sexual context. I do that all the time. You know, there are people that I love their body, or I love pieces of their body, and I objectify them and I lust for them. But at the end of the day, I know that they're a person and I have to treat them with respect. And, you know, and even in, you know, extreme BDSM context, you know, there are times, you know, when you're degrading someone, or you're getting degraded, and, you know, you're doing all kinds of horrible, filthy things. But once that scene stops, then you take care of that person. It's called aftercare. And you make sure that they're comfortable, make sure that they feel safe. You know, it's an important part of the entire dynamic. So I think it's really limiting to say, you know, that people can only do one or the other. I give people more credit than that, and I think that you can, sure, objectify somebody in a context where they want to be objectified, but still treat them like a person outside of that context.
I know for me, being in a relationship, I want to try my best to guard myself for the relationship purposes. You talk a lot about consent culture. You're the saint of sexuality. Let's just what your Twitter says: the saint of sexuality, preaching the gospel of sex positivity, consent culture, and ethical porn. First of all, I mean, just saying that you're a Christian in the porn star industry sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds kind of opposed to one another. How do you justify being a Christian in the sex industry?
See, I always hate that word. That's what people always say. How do you justify it? How do you? I'm like, I don't think I have to justify it. It's just the way it is. I am a Christian, and I also have an adult job. You know, I have a job in the sex work industry. I don't think that I should have to stop being a Christian because I, you know, got into adult work. Um, and there are a lot of people in adult work who are Christians or who are religious, just like there are a lot of people in any other job, you know, there who are religious. You know, it's like one of those things, you know, well, how can you do this and this? I don't know. How can you be a soldier that murders people and also a Christian?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just are. That's just the way life is. That's just the way the world is. There are all kinds of people doing all kinds of jobs, and some of them are religious. That's just, you know, the way it is. And I don't think that I have to justify my existence over anybody else who's a Christian doing some sort of job that may or may not be a sin.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Uh, so tell me about what is consent culture?
Consent culture is just making sure that you and everyone is informed about consent and practices consent. Um, it's something that, you know, really people started talking about within the last decade or so. It really kind of amped up, and especially with the Me Too movement, people are having these discussions more and more. And you know, so it's important. It's something that's important to me. A lot of people think that, you know, men have a lot of entitlement towards women sometimes, especially women who do sexual jobs or who seem sexy on the internet. They think, well, since you do this, then I am entitled to your time, your content, your body. And, you know, it's that same argument. Well, what was she wearing?
Mm.
She was asking for it. It's like, no, that's not consent. Wearing a sexy outfit isn't consent. Being at being at the avian expo is not consent to come up and grab me. You know, you have to ask, you have to get, you know, enthusiastic consent. And so that's, you know, something that I heavily advocate for. And and like I said, you know, I give men more credit than a lot of people do. I think that they can control themselves. I just think that they haven't been held to that standard very much.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't, you know, the people say, well, men are animals. No, you know, I mean, sure, maybe like a broad sense, sure, we're all animals, but you know, you have intelligence. You can stop yourself from grabbing, you know, things. Just like, you know, people say dogs, if you put a steak in front of a trained dog, he's not going to go for it until you tell him to. I
Right.
think that men can, you know, be the same. They can reach the same level as a trained dog.
Or not to look at you as a piece of steak.
Right.
And so tell me a little bit about ethical porn. That's another one of those words that seem kind of oxymoronic or just opposed to one another. What is ethical porn?
So ethical porn is porn that puts focus on, you know, the safety and happiness of the performers, um, doing things in a way that is good for everyone, not just the producers or not just the fans. So this has really blossomed recently, because a lot of women who were actresses and men who were actors in adult films have now become producers. So it's not kind of these outside forces controlling the industry anymore. It's people who have been in it and done it and know the problems and know what needs to be done to fix it. And and it is great that more and more women are becoming producers and directors, because I know personally I've never been on a set with a woman where I was worried about being hit on or being grabbed inappropriately or anything. And they understand. They you know trying to make your actors feel comfortable, trying to make them feel safe, not asking them to do anything they don't want to do, making sure that they're comfortable with everything that's happening. These are things that are making porn way better. And I love that I'm seeing more and more of it now.
And also people actually paying for their porn. I think you push for that. Get away from the
The
Pornhub,
tube sites,
other
right?
sites that are just, I mean, because you are trying to make a living as well, right?
Right, and that's also the big issue. So there are so many misconceptions about um, porn and how we get paid.
Want to hear more of this interview? Well, hit the subscription button below and hit that ringy bell thing. That'll give you notifications when we upload videos. Thanks.